A vast majority of Kenyans do not believe that the fight against corruption, the current very serious fight against corruption, will bring out much. Most believe it is same old, because the truth is, prominent figures, very powerful people, have been taken to court before. And in the end, their cases have gone absolutely nowhere. So there are very many Kenyans who believe this is the same story here, that all the current cases we have of people being arraigned before court for various offenses will go absolutely nowhere. People are saying, bila conviction, I will never believe. However, evidence on the ground says different. Evidence on the ground says that Kenya will never be the same again. Now, I believe my late political lecturer is standing in his grave. The man really hated corruption. And being a senior police officer, he paid a very high price for hating corruption. If he were alive today, he'd be 81 years old. But I still believe he would be able to see what I'm seeing, which suggests that things will never be the same again in Kenya. That in fact, corruption has been dealt a fatal blow, very heavy fatal blow. It doesn't mean that corruption is gone forever. It doesn't mean that Kenya will be clean. However, it means that the corruption monster has been very badly wounded. And before I tell you why, I can't resist an aside here. Growing up, I thought my political lecturer was just crazy. I firmly believed that he was principled and strict, beyond reason. And I'll give you a few examples. He loved his beer, in the early years White Cup, and then in the later years Tusker. He never touched whiskey. He had very few friends, and when they went out for a drink with those few friends, they shared the bill equally. And if he sat down somewhere and somebody sent drinks to his table, if it was somebody he hardly knew, he would send the drinks back. If he knew somebody well enough and they sent him one drink, what he'd do, he'd quickly finish his drink and send back 2 drinks to that person who had sent him one drink, and then he would leave that place. And for many years, this behavior puzzled me. At first, I thought it was some kind of psychological disorder. And then I also noticed in school, certain individuals, people in the school, as soon as they discovered who he was, wanted to make his acquaintance. And some of them went to great lengths to meet him. And my political lecturer would go to greater lengths not to meet them. Many years later, in an unguarded moment, when he had had quite a number of Tuskers, he let out his secret, the reason for this behavior. And it is this. He said, corruption normally starts with you owing somebody a favor, a debt, And so he said his principle was, he would do anything to make sure he avoided any situation where he would need to owe anybody anything. And it could start with somebody sending drinks to your table. Then you become friends. You let your guard down. And yet, you have no idea what this person wants. Why they're so eager to make friends with you. And what he said made a lot of sense. You see, the people who get involved in corruption go to great lengths to create contacts. And these contacts don't come by magic. They make friends with the right people. They start out doing favors to the right people. And then the corruption deal comes later. It all finally made sense to me decades later. Very interesting. Anyway, there are a number of things happening in the current fight against corruption that are very different from what we have seen in the past. One of them is something called asset recovery. In the past, what has been happening is that criminals who are involved in stealing money, even when convicted, nobody followed up with the proceeds from their crimes. And so, even if they went to prison, their money would continue working for them. And in many instances, that money would do miracles. So that if somebody is sentenced to 20 years, for instance, you find that after 1 or 2 years, they've been released. Their stolen money has continued to work for them. Now, very interesting, in this current fight against corruption, the prosecution office, and indeed the government, is very aggressively going after assets. And of course, you can't just seize somebody's assets. You have to produce evidence. It has to go through due process. You have to prove to a court of law the reasons why you believe that those assets were acquired through criminal means, through corruption. For instance, let's just take a quick look at what the Asset Recovery Agency has been saying about the accounts they've frozen connected to Lillian Omolo, the former PS, Gender and Youth Affairs, currently in court as one of the chief NYS suspects. It turns out that Lillian Omolo has numerous accounts. At the Equity Bank alone, 6. She has 6 accounts at that bank. And these are amongst the accounts which the Asset Recovery Agency has gotten frozen. One account alone had $67,331 US. That is well over 6.7 million Kenya shillings in just one account. When investigators asked what the source of the funds was, they were told that actually it was from her husband, Bwana Dick Acheng Oneko, who is a businessman. And apart from that, Lillian Omolo told investigators that these were the proceeds from her farming activities in Siaya, Nyanza. She told investigators that she had greenhouses where she grew various agricultural produce, including tomatoes, cucumbers, and watermelons. Now, especially cucumbers and watermelons fetch quite a high price in the market. That is true. And indeed, if you can grow many of them, chances are that you're going to make some serious money. That is also a fact. But then, investigators went on to reveal other factors that were strange. For instance, there were 3 accounts in the names of her 3 children, which have over 11 million in them, 11 million Kenyan shillings. Then there was something else that was out of the ordinary, the bankings. In one instance, 900,000 Kenyan shillings had been banked in different accounts on the same day. You know, if you walk to any Kenyan bank today and you bank 1 million shillings or more, you'll have to answer some questions, especially in connection to what the source of those funds are. Not only that, that particular deposit will be flagged by the central bank and the fraud and money laundering guys for further investigations. And so, to avoid attracting attention to themselves, there are many people, even people involved in very legal business, who prefer to make bankings of below 1 million. And so, they may choose to bank this money in several accounts instead of putting a lump sum of 2-3 million in one account, in one deposit. Some people prefer to avoid the inconvenience of banking 1 million bob or more, the red tape bureaucracy you'll have to go through to make a successful deposit. And also, nobody wants to attract the attention of the anti-fraud and money laundering people. However, it is also true that criminals do the same, for the same reason. And of course, criminals have a very good reason of not wanting to attract attention. Actually, the truth is, it's a lot more difficult to be a criminal these days. And it is also emerging that it is a lot more difficult to get involved in corruption deals. It's not impossible, but it is much more cumbersome than it was before. Before, it was a joy to walk into a banking hall and bank 3-4 million and then walk out like a hero because the female tellers, the pretty female tellers, bank tellers, are smiling at you. Well, it was also a horror story for the straight and narrow people, the honest business people, who on a bad day would have to come in to bank 800, and then walk out hanging their head down in shame. Why? Because the person who was in the queue just in front of them banked 3-4 million in cash, and it took quite a while to count it. And the same pretty female bank teller looked at them, that look of, are you serious? Well, the good news is that now the tables have been turned. The guy walking in with 3 or 4 million on him, and looking to make deposits of 900,000 all over the place in several banks and in several accounts, is sweating. They are worried. And even now the pretty female teller is looking at them suspiciously. Huyu ni drug dealer ama nini? And the guy walking in to bank 800 or 3,500, is getting a look of respect, from the same pretty female teller. It's a small amount, yes, but this is definitely an honest business person. Now, to me, that is a major change. You see, the very crazy and ridiculous thing that has been happening in our Kenya is that people have never cared how you've made your money. People have just been interested in who has the money. But now it seems things are changing. And these days, if you're banking a lot of money, if you have a lot of money, you'd better be a Bill Gates, or you'd better have a factory somewhere. People are no longer giving you that look of respect. Respect for being a drug dealer, or respect for being a thief of public resources. In my view, that is an excellent development in our country. Until next time, this is Kshs, Kumekucha. Cartels in Kenya, are so powerful. It is impossible for the government of Kenya to bring them down. And that is why the latest moves by the DEA in the United States is causing quite a lot of jitters back home here in Kenya. They were not, under any circumstances, going to lose their grip, their grip on power. But there's something else the cartels had started doing way back in 2007. They started fielding candidates in very prominent, powerful political positions so that their influence would remain guaranteed. And we're going to name those individuals shortly.